Today in the House of Representatives, the top Republican in the House is reportedly disagreeing with President Trump's decision to try to destroy the Affordable Care Act in the courts. Axios reports House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy told Trump over the phone that the decision made no sense, especially after Democrats killed Republicans in the midterms, in part over the issue of pre-existing conditions. According to two sources familiar with their recent conversation, NBC News reports that sources familiar with White House discussions say 4 members of the president's administration expressed concerns about the move to the president. Attorney General William Barr, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar, White House counsel Pat Cipollone, and Vice President Mike Pence. The New York Times reported there was a heated meeting in the Oval Office on Monday where acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney convinced the president to move forward with trying to kill the Affordable Care Act. The Times says that Vice President Mike Pence was concerned about the political ramifications of moving ahead without a strategy or a plan to handle the suddenly uninsured if the suit succeeds. 21 million people could lose health insurance if the Affordable Care Act is struck down. The White House officials admit to NBC News that they currently have no plan to replace Obamacare, something the world already knows. But Donald Trump said today, quote, "If the Supreme Court rules that Obamacare is out, we will have a plan that is far better than Obamacare." Joining our discussion now is someone who depends on the Affordable Care Act because her son has what health insurance calls a pre-existing condition. Tasha Nelson has a 7-year-old son named Jack who has cystic fibrosis. And Tasha, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know you are both an expert on the politics of this and an expert on the real life of this. And I hate to rush into politics discussions when real lives are involved. Tell us what this would mean to you if on a certain day in the future, the Supreme Court struck down the Affordable Care Act in its entirety. And as of that day, there was no Affordable Care Act.
I advocate with the Little Lobbyists. We are a group of parents and caregivers who advocate with our medically complex and disabled children in Capitol Hill to tell our stories. And the number one thing that we all benefit from in the Affordable Care Act is the protection for pre-existing conditions, because our children all have pre-existing conditions. When it comes to medical complexity, that comes at a cost. I received a box at my home yesterday that's my son Jack's monthly meds. The price tag on that box is $9,000, $108,000 a year. Without protection for pre-existing conditions, how will I come up with the money to keep my son alive? The medications in that box keep his organs functioning, his lungs breathing.
And what do you see as the possibilities here if the Supreme Court does this? The Democrats are not in a position, having only control of the House of Representatives. There couldn't be any kind of quick legislative remedy at all. We know that. The Republicans have proved they can't legislate anything.
No, the fact is, healthcare should not be a partisan issue. It's the one thing that unites us all in this country. Every single American needs access to high-quality, affordable health care. Everybody is one day away from a diagnosis that could change their life, be it cancer, a car accident where they're injured, or a baby born with a pre-existing condition. These are real-life realities that can happen in the flick of the eye. Both sides of the aisle need to be involved. And the truth is, the side that protects the people the most is the side that's going to win, as was evidenced in the 2018 elections.
And Tasha, it seems that in the inside reports in the White House, if they are true, at least Mike Pence, or we should say perhaps even Mike Pence, understands what would happen to you if on a day in the future the Supreme Court just ruled the Affordable Care Act unconstitutional in its entirety and knocked it out. It was Mike Pence who was saying, what would happen to people with pre-existing conditions? We don't have anything in place. We don't have anything ready that could possibly deal with that.
Families like mine We can't bank on the hope that something might come that will protect us later. We need it in black and white, in ink. We need the legislation to say and exist that says this is exactly how we will protect you, because our lives are on the line. A cold or a flu could take out my son. I know what fear is. What this administration has done to me and my community this week is terrorized us. We are terrified.
Tasha, how is Jack doing now?
He was in Baltimore all day today. He saw ENT, hematology, pulmonology, respiratory therapy, nutrition. He had a bunch of tests done. For the last couple of weeks, his lung function has been declining as a result of having the flu recently. And he's been to Baltimore from Northern Virginia 3 times in the last week because that's where his care center is.
Tasha, we're very glad to have you back. We wish this stress wasn't coming your way once again, and our best hopes for Jack.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.